Yeah, she's up here. Hey, Kelly, can you unmute your mic and speak? I know the Twitter space you
Oh,
like.
there we go.
Yes, you're here.
Hey,
Finally.
who's the tech person here?
What happened?
You know what? You know what happened? I I'm just back from like 6 weeks of literally being off social media. And to ensure that when I was away, I was in Australia and Cambodia and Vietnam. To ensure when I was away that I stayed off social, I deleted social media apps off my phone. And so when I got home today, I was like, oh, right, I got to do this. I guess I can do this from my desktop. Oh no, you got to do this from your phone. So I apologize.
Yeah, it's like I had a hunch that was what was happening because for some reason you can only speak on Spaces from your mobile phone, and I was like, I
Yeah.
hope you're not trying to speak from the web because that's never gonna happen.
Listen, and I've been really enjoying not having social media on my phone. So this is my power of my belief in you, my friend, that I have
Yeah,
put the app back on my phone for today.
thank you so much. Just for today, though, you could get off anytime. Yeah, thank you so much, Kelly. So we are going to get into it. I don't know, like the same thing with the technicalities. The first space I made, for some reason, it wasn't starting, so I had to create a new one.
Yeah,
Thank you, Twitter.
yeah.
So yeah, we could get right to it. This is going to be an hour max, including the Q&A, so we don't take too much of your time. So welcome everybody. Please share the space. Let's have more people. This is a very important topic. As a web developer, as a person even, it's an amazing topic. We have an amazing guest. You don't know how amazing she is. I tell you. She's
maybe maybe not amazing and getting my tech right every once in a while, but thank you.
yeah. No, like tech is not the only thing to be amazing in out there. Come on, you are amazing. Take it from me. I know. So um I'm going to let her introduce herself first before I go on with my ranting of how amazing she is and how we met. So please, Kelly, could you just tell us who you are? Of course, I know who you are, but tell everybody else.
Oh my God, I want to say I'm the author of a book called Build Your Dream Network: Forging Powerful Relationships in a Hyper-Connected World. And I've sort of had a interesting career. Started off very traditionally in the legal field, but networks and relationships and building connections. That is what has opened doors for me and led to unexpected things, including publishing a book. So I'm one of these people who never thought I did what I did was special. Never thought how I approached this topic was in any way interesting. And when someone told me it was, I that I should tell people about it. It was a former boss of mine. I told him he was an idiot and it was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard. But 10 years later, I wrote my book and ate crow and let him know that. But things for me have not happened because of submitting a resume on an online portal or applying for jobs in traditional or looking for roles in traditional ways. They've come around because people know what I do. So, as I like to say in this day and age, it's not who you know or what you know, it's who knows what you know. And so, I really do believe on the showing up daily for your network and ensuring that consistency that people know what it is that you're capable of. And that opens doors.
Yeah, that's you're spot on. So, like she said, she's an author of an amazing book. So how I get to know about Kelly and her work was there was this stream with Cassidy Williams, and I think there was one other person in there, and we were just talking about building networks, and they get to mention Kelly's book, and I googled it, I saw it, so just the intro, I was already hooked. I was like, this is it, and it shined a lot of light on concepts that I believed in and I still do believe in. And Kelly is not your typical relationships builder or network person. Our advice are spot on and straight to the point, and they are surely going to get you result because it's comes from a place where Kelly and I have like we shared the same beliefs on having value first. And yeah, so I read the book, amazing. I kept tweeting about the book, I kept sharing it. So months went by. I wanted to just reach out and just say, "Hey, Kelly, loved your book." And I sent a DM, I think, to the Build Your Dream Network Twitter, I think, or
Yep.
yours. Yeah, Build Your Dream Network Twitter. So she replied, and we got to email, and we sparked a conversation. We got on a call, and we're doing this, and it felt so organic, really, and so amazing to do that. So Kelly, what about building network really got you like, hey, I want to be a network coach because you like you did say, and also from your book, I know you've done quite a lot of things from legal background and a whole lot of other stuff. So why are you teaching people how to build network today?
Why am I doing that? You know why? Because the whole idea of networking, it is so critical for our careers. Building networks and relationships is critical for well, I'm going to say our health and well-being. Relationships are what fuel our possibility, and there is studies in terms of what it does for your mental and physical well-being as well. But so much of the advice, I mean, it sort of trivializes, just get out there and do it. I mean, that's, people are like, tell you to go out and network, and you're like, where do I start? And then they give you like, here's 3 icebreaker questions and all this kind of stuff. And it, it trivializes, making it think that this is like an easy thing to do. And it's like, well, it is, and it's not, because we're human beings and we're complex. And is there a way of approaching this critical activity that empowers people to build the relationships that they need, and also recognizes that, you know what, this is not an easy task, because you've got to deal with human beings. And let's face it, we're weird, right? We're unpredictable. We're complex. And so, you know, kind of balancing these things, but also giving people like the ability to kind of like, ah, oh, wait, I can do this, and I can do it in a way that is um, meaningful and authentic to who I am. Because what works for somebody else may not work for you. A tactic to build a connection with one person, may that same tactic may not work with someone else. When I go back to, when you reached out to me, I mean, first of all, you'd shown up when I'd been on, and done something with Cassidy. And Cassidy and I, um, it's at Cassidy on Twitter, she and I originally met because of a hackathon. And then we reconnected at another hackathon. And then just over the years, she has stayed in touch with me and reached out for career advice and this kind of thing. And, I sort of at this point wonder who's mentoring who in art with my relationship with Cassidy. But the fact that you were like, I listened in on this. Then, you were like, all right, I read and learned more about Kelly before reaching out and asking me a question. And for me, watching who you are, um, seeing the consistency in what you do, it's like, well, of course I'm gonna jump on a Zoom with you and find out more about you, because in your digital actions, in your communications and DMs and stuff with me, you're revealing who you are, and that consistency of me looking at your YouTube channel and all that. Yeah, I looked at all of this before we talked, my friend. So I looking at all of that, I'm like, all right, I can judge this person's character by what I'm seeing and what they have done in participating in something else I've done and looking up more about me before asking me a question. All right, I can make a good, kind of guess on this person's character, and therefore I want to talk to them. Anyway, let me just stop there for a
No, you could continue because you I just keep going. No, no, but seriously, it's you know you mentioned something that I really heard, which is your DMs, your interactions, or whatever shows who you are, and that's really important. I don't think we'll talk about that enough to know that like for every introduction you do, whether you think it's important or not,
second.
it's like saying yes, this is me, this is who I am.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm thinking, a recruiter who I interviewed on my book, she said, the lack of a digital footprint needs to be, kind of explained. And listen, there are people who are in roles and in things who, they're hidden away. They don't want to have that digital footprint. But as I like to say to people, like, you're networking when you're sleeping because people are talking about you, people you've worked with, clients you've served, um, classmates, whatever it may be, they may be talking and referring you, right? So networking is not just happening, over pizza and a beer at, at a tech meetup or something. So while you're sleeping, networking is happening that is affecting you because of the impression, because of your past interactions. And in this day and age, for a lot of people, someone talks about someone, what do we do? Like someone talks about a restaurant or something, what do? We Google it and we look up people. And all of a sudden, who you are is, this kind of 360 thing of, does the email align with, the Instagram or the LinkedIn or the Twitter profile? Does it align with what somebody else has said to me? Like all of those pieces. And I think, that's not to scare people. This is to sort of like, all right, here's more about networking that is within your control and your ability to show and demonstrate to other people who you are and why they may want to interact with you.
Absolutely. And speaking about talking about to people who you are and why they want to interact with you, what is the ideal networking mindset? Because I'm of the strong opinion that you network better when you think less of what you want for that um, relationship you're trying to build and more about the other person, right? Like I did
Hmm.
mention to you for my TKYT sessions, how I've been able to get these people who are way ahead of me with the careers, older and everything, is by reaching out to them from a place of value to them, not saying, "Hey, I have a YouTube channel and I'm trying to grow it. I want, I want you." No, I say, "You're working on XYZ. I like it. It's interesting. Do you want to teach me about it?" And
Hmm.
that just switch it, right? So instead of shining the light on what I want, I shine the light on what they want, and it's aligned with their needs, their goals, and I find a way to make what I'm doing fit. So it's more of a win-win all the way. So what is your mindset for doing all that?
But I mean, you've absolutely got the right mindset. It's like, how can I be of service to somebody else? How can I be of service to an organization? How can I, um, like, why is it that the other person would want to give me time, give their time? Because when you think about it, when we're seeking to engage with someone else, we're not just, you know, maybe taking information from them, right? We're taking their time. We may be, besides their reputation and their experience that we want to, learn from, we also may want them to, use their network. So those are three really big assets that we're asking people for, right? Their reputation, their relationships, and time. And as I like to say to people, time is your non-renewable asset. You cannot give someone their time back, right? You can regain your reputation, you can build relationships, again. But time, once it's gone, it's gone. So when you're engaging with someone else, even if you're like, oh man, I really hope they give me an internship, or I really like them to refer me, or whatever else, you know, not like respecting that I'm also asking for something really big here, which is their time. And their time may be, yes, jumping on a Zoom or jumping on a call, but it also may be the mental bandwidth that you're asking them to think about you and devote some of their energy to your needs, right? And so we need to be so, I want to say, hyper respectful of that. I remember a woman who was working for a major tech company, and she really looks to support and advance um, I'm going to say the black community, as she is black, as and a lot of women into tech, and so she's really proactive in terms of getting those resumes and getting them in the right eyes because she's a very senior executive with a major tech company. And there was this one time she had scheduled, like, someone had asked for her time, to mentor or whatever, and was supposed to jump on whatever video platform to do this, and it was like a couple minutes and someone's not there, and a couple more minutes and someone's not there, and a couple more minutes, and all of a sudden she's the one you know texting or emailing the person who asked for her help and mentorship, and she's like, excuse me, like, is there, are you okay, is there a problem, I'm on the platform, kind of, where are you? And the person came back, was like, "Oh, sorry, but we really don't need to meet. I just wanted to get you, give you my resume, and like, here it is, and can you get me a job where you work?" I was like, "Are you kidding me?" First of all, it's a mighty big ask, first of all. Secondly, you've wasted this person's time. And when I talked to this executive, I mean, the biggest thing besides the audacity of this, you know, email from someone she had communicated with, but had not yet, you know, done the visual. The thing that really ticked her off was the wasting of her time. Like, if there was a hierarchy of the reasons why she would not be forwarding this person's resume anywhere, the number one at the end of the day, when you kind of, when we teased it all out, was this person wasted my time. And that, in terms of when you're networking, the reason why, like, to think about being of service, to think generously, to really have clarity on why it is, this person is the one you need to meet, talk to, whatever, is, how can I show them I value the time and energy that they are going to devote to me, whether that is in person or on an email exchange or whatever it may be.
Yeah. you know, as you kept talking about this whole thing, what popped out to me is character. You know, the there's a cliche that first impressions matters, but we can take it to a whole new level. That I wouldn't care how qualified you are or whatever you are in terms of the technicalities, but if your character in reaching out to me for the first time and you were late, I did not hear from you, and you were like, I just wanted to give you my resume. It's just poor behavior in my books, and it shows you don't even value the most valuable thing, which is a person's time.
Yeah,
And yeah, like, you can't. I have always tweeted once in a while, and folks will be like, "Oh," I always said, "Time over money, anytime, any day," because you cannot get time back
yeah,
at all. It's gone. Like 20 seconds ago, can never be gotten, no matter how rich we are, whether billionaires or whatever. It's gone. So if someone gives you their time, you have to cherish it. And that's one thing I've always owed dear. Like anytime I have meetings with people, I'm always ending with "thank you for your time." And it's not just me saying or being polite. It's really true. Like, thank you for your time. There are millions of things you'd be doing before this meeting. You took out that time for me. I have to cherish you for it. And I say this over and over again where folks don't really value time. And I don't know what's the reason for it, but it feels it's misplaced priority
Yeah.
on what's important.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Exactly. And just so you know, so now that I know I'm in the right, on my on the Twitter app on my phone, for anyone joining late, we had some issues because of me and technology. But what I've done, Kelvin, is I've logged on online in the other Twitter account, Build Your Dream Network, and I am responding to your tweet that you put out. Come and learn how to network in tech. With the link to the space, and I'm responding to that with some resources. So as soon as you start talking about networking generosity, I had a wonderful podcast conversation with Sherelle Dorsey, founder of The Plug, and she's that's at TP Insights on Twitter. And Sherelle, talked about this sort of she had moved back to Atlanta, moved to Atlanta, and building a net. I mean, she's got an amazing network, but building that network there, and she really talks about like how she approached that, and this whole idea of like, where can I be of service, and knowing that in sort of having that mentality, she would then be able to build relationships in a variety of places, and within a variety of communities in Atlanta. She also has some great advice in there on how the episode is called Intentional Career Development with Sherelle Dorsey. She really does talk in there about how she approaches her own personal development, and the intentionality she takes towards that. And it's really an exceptional conversation because Sherelle is an exceptional human being.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to have a read on the listing to that podcast. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Yeah, and if I
Um,
think about, I mean,
mhm.
and as I think of other things, I will, I'll drop them in that Twitter stream. So yeah,
Yeah, sure. And one reason why this space is very important to me is because mostly let's tie in the developer part of this whole conversation is that a lot of folks I see, newbies or not so newbie, like breaking into tech and all that, I get DMs and requests that I feel they would benefit from understanding how to get into someone's network. And why not to start from making an ask? Like very first interaction, there was no prior conversation or interaction anywhere, and you just get straight to an ask. I, does that even ever work?
yep, it can. It absolutely can. But that's when I say to people, you've done your homework beforehand, right? Like I'm thinking of a conversation. You know what? Let me give you a really bad example. Kelvin, is someone reached out to me, and it was an inquiry about speaking at an event. And the person, said, "Hey, we've got this event, and interested in having you as a speaker, or so and so recommended you as a speaker. Can we set up time to talk?" I'm like, "Okay," because this was back when around the time my book came out, and basically fielding every one of those inquiries is essential as an author. Um, and we get on this Zoom. I think it was a Zoom. And the first thing the person said to me was, "I know I can read about you online, but why don't you tell me about yourself?" And I thought, I want nothing to do with you or this organization or this event. If that is the way you approach someone, I was just like flabbergasted. First of all, thinking, you had done some research, you may have, not wanted to contact me at all because I may not be suitable for what your conference or event is. So sometimes, yes, you can reach out immediately with an ask, but you've done your homework. Oh, I'm thinking of another scenario, a friend who's got a business in the UK, and someone reached out inquiring, like literally a cold email about like, hey, my resume is attached and I'm looking for a job. And, if you could review my resume and, you know, see if there's anything available at your company, was something along those lines. That's like those one of those, are you kidding me? But if they'd actually read and looked at the website of this company, if they then looked up the principles, if they Googled the name of the company and seen what conversation was going on, and actually sort of said, oh, they do this. Here's the type of clients they serve. Here's where my skill set, my studies, this job I had previously, this is where there's an intersection, like get that good Venn diagram going. And if they'd reached out and said, I'm not sure if you're hiring, but here's what you do and here's what I do, and you know here's where I think I could add, my skill set could align with the work that you do. And for example, I read this case study that you have on your website. Here's where I could like something like that. Someone's going to sit up and pay attention because you're understanding what they need. You've, like I said, you've done your homework and you're showing them that you understand what's going on with them. That to me, like solving somebody else's problem and thinking about your networking ask is solving someone's problem. I mean, it is your problem too if you're looking for a job, but you showing them that reaching out initially with an ask, no problem. But just kind of, going on a fishing expedition or keeping it really general and broad, that lack of preparation in advance, no, 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 you can't reach out for an ask first off. But this is also too to empower people who are listening right now. Um, when I think about networking generosity, when you hear the advice you need to give before you get in networking, your networking generosity right now is your preparation before your ask. Because, you know, that will cause people to say, oh, this person is actually, you know, they've done their homework on me, they've done the background, they've actually done the right ask. And now I can give them an answer. Like there's your networking generosity. Your networking generosity is and your give after someone gives you their time is like to follow up. Like thanks so much for the advice. Here's what I've done with it. Or okay, I appreciate you're not hiring right now and you've asked me to circle back, or keep you informed of what I'm doing. Do it. There's a lot of things people like that you and I can get into it more, like that failure to do the homework, the failure to kind of follow up afterwards, biggest networking mistakes and so easy to correct. If you do those two things, do the work in advance before reaching out, really customizing and personalizing the outreach, not like sort of a spray and pray approach that you're cut and pasting, sending to everybody. And then following up when people, contact you, like even if they're like, no, I'm sorry, I can't meet, I'm not the right person, to be able to say, I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you taking the time to respond to my email. Like that kind of stuff is going to hold you in such good stead. And you will take yourself out of, the 99% of people who get networking wrong and move into the 1% who get it right.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Kelly. Yeah, the whole part of doing your due diligence, like the work before, and also following up, I feel it's lacking, like you say. And you know that percentage you just made, 99% versus 1%. I feel it is literally that, because so often you get people, they want to make an ask really, and you could tell from the conversation that this person don't even know who you are, and it's not as if you are like a monk in a monastery. You are online, there are links on your bio, you have a website, and you get to like, can you tell me about yourself? If you like, you get that kind of line of question, and you start feeling like this is getting downhill so quickly, because I was assuming before you reached out, there's a bit of due diligence on your part to like know those common knowledge answers, right? But
Right.
yeah, like we don't see that, and I've seen I have a lot of DMs, I have had a lot of asks, and anytime I get one of those, I'd be like, we need to educate people more on how to really do this stuff, because this won't work. And the thing is, the people you're asking, not me, I'm pretty small. Like these other people, they they are busy people to start with. Like that's where you need to have empathy. I think, okay, this person is busy doing XYZ, right? They are CEOs, CTOs, or whatever they are in their business. They have their plans, they have their goals, they have their needs, and they have the wants. It's not healthy, I have to use the word, that you assume they are going to all of a sudden, because you asked, put your needs on top of everything else. How that's never likely.
Yeah, but you know what?
Mhm.
I got to go back to something you said because I got to take objection to it. When you said, like you're not big, like you are, like small, I think was the word you were using in terms of that hierarchy in networking. I think everybody who's listening, and it's one of these things I literally, get on a soapbox about, is like every relationship and everybody matters. And the idea that that old notion of networking, that somebody, more powerful, like when I think of my life in corporate, right, it's probably a white dude in the corner office, right, like the idea that, you know some gray-haired fool, likely male, in a corner office is going to hold the keys to our career, right? And that, let me just call bullshit on that. Your opportunity could come from anywhere. And the key thing to succeeding is understanding that every relationship matters. You don't know who is going to refer you, who knows what. I mean, I remember when I was still working corporate, and I was working, a law firm, manager professional development, um, and that came after my legal career. And so I'm working in this role, and I got this text message from this guy who's like, "Hey, I'm here at your firm, big meeting. If you're around, come and say hi." And the guy was very senior, like at an investment bank in New York, and um, so all sorts of important people were at this meeting because they were hoping to get his work. Anyway, I text back. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here." And I wandered up the stairs to where they were, doing the, meet and greet, and I'm gonna say kissing the ring because they all, are kissing the butt because they really wanted this guy's work. And this guy so just looked at everybody and said, "Hey, excuse me a minute, I got to talk to somebody important." And he walks out of, and everyone can see this going on. Walks over, comes over to me, and gives me a big hug. And he's like, "Oh, thank God you rescued me from this for a minute." And I'm like laughing as we're hugging, whatever. And so I said, "You better get back." They're all staring. And I go back down to my office. So a little while later, two of like the most senior partners at this firm, and one of them was like the biggest biller, the biggest rainmaker, super scary dude. Okay. So someone who you would think is like the corner office, networker, like the guy I got to network with because he's going to, you know, hold the keys to my career. So anyway, they're in my doorway and they want to know how I know this guy who they were trying to get work from. And I look at them, I'm like, he's my husband's best friend. And I thought to myself, um, it's too bad that these guys hadn't ever valued who I was before. Like I was, I was staff. I wasn't important. But I'm like, you don't know who I am. You don't know my role I play at work, but you don't know what relationships I have. And my ability to influence is, as I'm thinking this as it's going through my head, and these guys are now sweating because they're thinking, oh crap, we've not been particularly nice to Kelly in the past, and oops, now she's got, she's got the ability to control whether or not we get work from this investment bank. So, a long story, but an example of like, you don't know. I have had speaking engagements referred to me because of interns, right? Your opportunity, Kelvin, to have me here and talking to your community. So this whole idea of who's important, who's big, or who's small in your network, that's, I would define, someone who is small in your network is someone who's not generous, someone who is not, someone who's only taking relationships and not giving. So that would be to me like a small person in your network. But their title, their role, you don't know where your opportunity is going to come from. So the idea of being generous with more people, judging people on their character versus their role or their title, so much more important in this day and age than, oh yeah, it's got to be the, as I keep going back the example, the gray-haired white dude, in the corner office with a big title, and the big oak desk with his feet on it. Like that person, that's not the way to approach networking. Thinking someone, you know, powerful in those kind of old, outdated notion is the important person for me to network with.
Oh, yeah, that's so deep, Kelly. I love the definition of a big person and a small person. That's going to be my definition going forward. Big person, someone who's generous with it.
Yeah, it's all about generosity. And the more, and like I said, you don't know. And also think about it. Like when I think about like venture capital firms and things that I have learned from the VCs that I know, you know, when they think about investing, I mean, a lot of the time, their best referrals come from people they've already invested in. So when I think about startup founders and who they should be networking with, they need to be networking with their peers. You building relationships with other in the community because that's where the word of mouth up to someone important. Um, like who am I going to listen to if I was a venture capitalist? Like people I've already invested in, and for them to say, "Hey, I'm working in a co-working space and this person at the desk next to me is doing some really cool stuff and I see them all the time and they're coming in and doing this and blah 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 blah." As if I was a VC, I'd be like, this sounds intriguing, and based on what your day-to-day observations and interactions with this person, because I trust you, I want to meet this other person. Whereas I meet so many startup founders and all they're worried about doing is meeting, trying to meet the, people whose name is on the top of the masthead. They're not building relationships with their peers. They're, ignoring the lower level people in a VC firm. And I'm like, oh, good luck getting funded. Good luck getting funded because they ain't going to take your meeting. They're not going to talk to you because you're not hitting their radar. So, how are you building and prioritizing relationships that you think are not powerful because they are the ones that hold the power? Like someone's going to listen to someone they've mentored. I'm going to listen to someone who was an intern for me. I'm going to listen to, like, fill in the blanks, those people who, I've already invested time and energy in. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, they've invested time and energy in these other people. All right, I'll take it. I'll take it. Um, so yeah.
Thank you so much, Kelly. So, at this junction, I want folks to have the opportunity to ask you questions because it is a real opportunity to have you here, no doubt. So, if you want to ask Kelly questions, this is your moment because, of course, I have 1,001 questions for Kelly. But the whole idea or the purpose for this space is for everyone to learn how to network better and from an amazing network coach as Kelly is. So please request the mic and come ask Kelly your question on networking and building, you're looking for that next job, and it's not working the way you think it would by just meeting people and making asks. Oh, yeah. So this is the moment to come ask any question. And while people are coming up, Kelly, do you only network when you need something? Can't you just build network for the sake of building strong, healthy relationship with another person?
Well, I mean, that's where people get it wrong. They show up and do things when they need something, and then they run off, right? And that's the like surefire way to not get what you need. Surefire way to like burn bridges. If you're constantly that listen, there may be times you need to dial it up, and there need other times like you don't turn it off, right? Like this is where when we think about what we talked about earlier, this is like how do you show up every day? What is that digital footprint? How are you sharing information? If we start looking at networking, not just schmoozing at cocktail parties, so to speak, but how we show up daily in the world, there's more chances to build relationships in ways that are like kind of low key. Like you're doing these activities already. So, for example, like someone listening right now who knows somebody else could have used this information and they're not here. A networking thing to do would be to share this recording with them, saying, hey, thought of you when I was listening to this because I know, you're struggling with networking right now to find a job. There's some really good resources and things in here and, take a look at it, right? Or I listened to this recording and it reminded me that I hadn't followed up with you to tell you, there might be an email or something you sent to a mentor or someone you had an interview with to say, realized I hadn't followed up and let you know what I've done since we last spoke. Like little things like that, not just, thinking about networking as coffee dates and that kind of, old bullshitty kind of model. That, you know, doing that all the time means you're going to have a network to lean on when you need to dial up your networking because you have some kind of urgency or gap, like I need to change jobs, or I'm seeking a new opportunity, or I'm really struggling to, do X, Y, Z. If you haven't shown up daily for your network, showing up for an ask, is going to be as effective as, I don't know, what, a blind post on Facebook or something saying, hey, anyone, I'm looking for this. Like, how are you going to get some, really strong leads if you have not been there for other people on a daily basis?
Mm-mm. I love it. And it's. I feel at the end of the day, it boils down to being thoughtful. And I can point to like a number of instances where just being thoughtful of another person, this is no angle, like there's no strategizing. I don't need anything really. But this person is in my circle, and let's say they launched a book, for example. Like I have a friend who has a book, and I just come out and be like, okay, I'm doing a giveaway of his book, like maybe three or four, five copies. He's already my friend. I don't need anything from him. But just the idea of like, okay, what can I do for this other person that is just being thoughtful, right?
Yeah.
And it goes a long way because at that moment you're not scheming, because I feel it, it's easy to spot scheming really, like when someone is doing something just to like we say kiss hurts.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. It's so obvious to see this kind of stuff, but I feel most people are too in, they're too consumed about what they want, that there's a famous quote. I don't know who said it, but it said if you help enough people get what they want, they will in turn help get you what you want. And
Yeah.
yeah, that it has to be genuine, okay? Like I don't want you all to go from this place and just because you want something, you start being all nice, and after that you run away. No, that's scheming. Genuinely be a nice person to another person. Okay, it's nice things will come back to you. I just feel that's how it works, and it has worked for me a whole bunch of time. Like I was genuinely sharing Kelly's like quotes from Kelly's book all through while I was reading it. I never had mind, because at that time I wasn't even doing Twitter Spaces then. Like it was never like, okay, someday in the future, because I was sharing this, I'm going to make an ask from Kelly. Let's put let's put a timeline on this. No, it was never that. It was just being genuine and saying that, okay, talking about her book just for her, and I'm sharing the value I'm getting from my book. So from that place of genuinely trying to be helpful and thoughtful, that's why we are here, folks.
It's like it's not it's kind of, like, I mean, maybe being some people, like, being considerate is like a challenge for them, right? Like, people always say to me, what's your best, like, networking hack? I'm like, don't be a jerk. What else I got, right? Like, people look at me blankly and they're thinking I'm going to give them like an icebreaker question, or something, sort of a template that they could follow. I'm like, don't be a jerk. There's my advice on how to succeed at networking. Like, when you think about things that you are sending and asking, put yourself in the other person's shoes. How would you feel of being the recipient of your own networking ask? And if you're like, oh God, if someone did that to me, I'd want to strangle them. Well, then why are you doing it to somebody else? Right? Like, all you can control is your own reputation. You can't control how someone else receives it. Which goes back to my, what I said earlier, the part of the conversation. I said, what makes networking hard is you have to deal with other people, and we're squirrely and weird, right? So you can send a perfectly crafted email with a beautiful ask and get crickets. Well, you don't know what's going on in that other person's life. Oh, the dog might have died and they're, crying their heart out on a sofa and they're not answering anything. Or, they're like me. They, went away for a period of time and decided, what? Email, social media, I don't care about it for this time period. I'm more interested in, playing Lego with my godchildren, right? So, there might be a lot of things I haven't responded to because I'm like, what? I'm not around. And so some of this is really sort of thinking about what's going on with that other person, and this is not just about me. And the best way to get what I want is to think about, how do I help somebody else get what they want?
Yeah. Please, if you're not going to take anything from this conversation, what Kelly just said, like the last statement she made, the best way to get what you want is to think about helping someone else get what they want. It's literally it. You need to step out of your need for an instance and be helpful genuinely, okay? No angle, just being a helpful human on the internet is the whole reason why most folks like the tweets I do, because it's just genuinely trying to help people learn JavaScript or web development. Like there's no angle, there's no buy my product at the end of the day. Just learn, right? Just being helpful and being valuable. So add value. So I'm still waiting for folks to request the mic.
Yeah.
You
And,
all don't have any questions for Kelly?
I know that what I was going to say is, a lot of the times, and Calvin, is, people listen to this, they're going to digest it, they're going to think about it, and then they'll be like, damn, I do have a question. So this is where I would say, then, you know, message Kelvin, or text, respond to a tweet that, is in this stream that we're having, and say, here's what my question is. If I can get you an answer on Twitter, like, hey, here, I've answered that before. Here's where you find some resources. You know, I'll get you the answer. If there's a whole bunch of questions, Kelvin, that that come up after this, then you and I will do another one of these. Easy peasy. Like, no problem. Now that I've figured out that I have to have Twitter on my phone to do it, and I figured out how to unmute myself. Now
Oh,
that I've got this figured out, but to be of service to your community, to be of service to the people who follow you, so that they can get where they need to be going, to empower more people, so that they can feel confident in an activity that is essential for their career and can be so draining in terms of thinking of, like, I don't have anything to offer, like that feeling of powerlessness, to say, actually, no, you do have control and you should be confident in this. Like, helping people do that and doing this again with you, I would be really happy. So if people don't have questions now, don't think you've lost the opportunity to. we've just given you, I've just given you some ways and put Calvin on the spot to bring me back if
Mhm.
that would be helpful.
I would be delighted to surely. Like, I think someone was trying to come up, but probably the network or something. And just an aside, I will be random picking three listeners in here and gifting Kelly's book because it's too valuable, and I want you all to read it. And if you're newbie in tech or whatever, what at anywhere you are, this will be the best book you read this year. Take my word for it. So I'm going to randomly pick three people, and I'm going to ask for your shipping addresses. I'm going to ship you the book from Amazon.
You are amazing, my friend. Thank you. And you know what? I'm also going to pop into this stream because in January of last year, God, I can't believe it already. Build Your Dream Network turned 5. Gotta love a book that still has sort of timeless and timely advice. Someone had said to me, why don't would I do a new edition of the book, because of COVID? And I thought, oh, good grief, the last thing I want to, I don't know about anybody else, the last thing I want to read is a book with COVID and pandemic all the way through it, right? So I did a book bonus with some updated interviews and some guidance of people who had really effectively, there's a lot, as you know, Kelvin, in my book, around building relationships digitally and how we take our in-person, bring bring our humanity and who we are in real life, treating digital spaces the same way, not as this sort of other lesser form of networking. But some people who during that time period of 2020, etc., really deepened and grew relationships in meaningful ways. And so I will drop the link in, to that one tweet I told you about, the come and learn how to network in tech, with a link to that book bonus. And that's 70 pages of new content. There's a PDF. Click on the image of the book, download it. It's yours free. There's no sign up and there's no, not, oh, you have to do this to get it. No, you could just download the PDF. So I will put that in there.
Thank you so much, Kelly. So I believe we have a question from Cow Codes. Hey, Cow Codes, go ahead.
Hello, good day, everybody. Kelvin, just want to say very big thank you for hosting this space and everything you do for the tech community. And Mrs. Kelly, just want to say very big thank you for agreeing to come up to speak to us about networking today. Kelvin made mention of your book. Honestly, I'd love to know more about it. I don't know if you could just give me a short rundown about what your book is about.
Well, Kelvin's read it and tweeted about it. I'm gonna let him say what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cow Codes, the book is the only book you'd need to know how to network well. I'm talking about building relationships that's going to last and is going to get what you want, but by not putting what you want in the spotlight all the time, by being helpful, by being genuine. There are a lot of stories about people that have very strong networks because we all know you need to not be an island in order to be successful. And of course, you need people around you. So, with Kelly's book, Building Your Dream Network, it's like the networking dream team. You having these relationships that you're not just scheming, or you did not just build because you want something. You have like forever strong relationships and connections that get you. If you wanted jobs, you of course you could get that. But at the end of the day, I think the most valuable thing is the people who you have in your network. So, are you interested in reading the book?
Yeah, sure. The thing is, maybe I made a mistake trying to ask that question.
Okay.
I should have rephrased. Like, I wanted to know more about the book, not actually what it does, but still, it wasn't my question, so no problem. Thank you very much. Thank you for the
Okay.
opportunity to
Okay.
actually speak.
Sure. You'll
No,
be
no, but
trusting. Okay.
I was going to say, I
Go
think
ahead,
that's
Kelly.
an absolutely awesome question. I loved it. But the reason I punted over to Kelvin is, I can say what my book's about, but from someone who has read it and been like lived and applied the advice, as opposed to me sitting here going, oh, my advice is great, you should all read it, right? it's so much more meaningful. I also learn so much about what pieces of my advice resonate. What guidance of mine, like, do people put into action and do they do different things? Like, I learned so much listening to somebody else talk about my work. So that's why, more than anything, why I punted the question over, because I'm like, well, this will be interesting for me. What really did you take away from my book, Kelp?
Yeah. Um, Car codes, you'll be person number one to get the book. So later on, I'm going to come to your DM for your shipping address if you don't mind. So you get to read the book. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah. So like Kelly said, we are definitely going to do this again, going forward in a more um better time, because I do know people are still at work and all that. That's why we don't have like a full house, but it's fine. They're going to listen to the recording. It's going to be on Spotify and on YouTube. So yeah, we are going to go off. Thank you so much, Kelly. I'm looking forward to doing this again. And thank you so much for your time. Do you have anything, final words for the listeners before we say call it?
Listen, I, whatever size of the gathering, I mean, the fact that people have, like, that you're here, I want to say thank you. Thank you for investing in your own career. Thank you for investing in your own career development and wanting to understand more on how this activity is so important. If you think of questions, reach out to Kelvin, and reach out on Twitter, to our accounts, and ask your questions. And yeah, let us know when would be a good time to do this again. What would be, and I will definitely, whatever crazy hour it is for me or you. Now that hey, you just have to listen to my voice. No one needs to know what I'm looking like. So if I don't have to put on hair and makeup and get on a camera, like, we can do this at any time that works for other people. But I just really wanted to thank everybody who took the time out of their day for their career. I wanted to thank you and commend you for doing that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kelly. You're amazing. So yes, everyone, do follow Kelly, and thank you all for being here. As always, the space is going to be uploaded to Spotify, YouTube, and whatever. So yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you, Kelly. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to pick those 3 people after now. Okay, 2. I already picked 1. So yeah, bye everyone.
Bye. Thank you.